anytime you mount a platform at Cropover, you're supposed to sing calypso. But since I can't sing, I can only do like Little Rick and tell you, I like myself. I am happy to be home because this is home to me. Those of you who I worked with in 1996 when we brought Mark Williams up here for the by-election would recall that I spent literally every day and night, broke my foot and all, out here among you, the good people of Deacons, Rosemont, Ferniehurst, Black Rock, Spring Garden, Fairfield, apart from the fact of being born in Chula Bridge. So when I speak here tonight, I speak with a love and a passion for the good people of this area. And I speak in support of a young, bright Barbadian in the form of Gregory Nichols as well, who enjoys my total confidence and who I believe will have a bright future in the governance and representation of the people of this country. But I also speak to you tonight conscious that there must now be a movement for a new mandate. A movement to spread across this country, not because the outcome of the elections depends on it, because the outcome will be the same whenever, wherever, and however the election is called. The Democratic Labour Party will be taken from the governance of this country, not because of anything other than utter incompetence. But I speak to you for a new mandate because Barbados needs a new mandate. And if you had any doubt in your mind as to the necessity for that new mandate, if you doubted what people were saying in terms of the fact that they can't make ends meet, they can't get the light bill pay. Up to today, I had 2 constituents call me again. Or that they can't find work. Or that the police, far from getting all the promises, as you can see, are now being driven to the law courts to stand up for their rights in this country. Barbados needs a new mandate. And I want to say to all within my voice tonight here and on the internet, to tell Frondell Stewart that the calling of an election is not about him, it's not about Owen Arthur, it is not about me, it is not about Chris Sinkler, it is not about Gregory Nichols, it is about the suffering that the people of this country are continuing to endure. And it is about rescuing Barbados from the utter incompetence of the Democratic Labour Party. And I say this to you in all sincerity, that for love of country, we need an election sooner rather than later. And you know, friends, there is a saying by a great man who said that if you continue to do the same thing, in the same way, for the same reason, and expect different consequences, that is the definition of madness. Now, I am not saying that Frondell and the Dems are mad, but I am saying that we know that nothing that they are doing is helping to change the condition of the country, of the economy, and most of all, of the people of Barbados. This week was a dreaded moment for us. And you know, we take no pride in the fact that Barbados has now been categorized as junk status. And it is something that causes us to wonder, how can a president of the United States of America see a downgrade and run and talk to his people? And in Barbados, a downgrade not only to the country's rating, but a downgrade to junk, where the cost of borrowing and the ability to borrow, because any and everybody can't lend you money now when you are junk. And it is not just the government, it is the companies like Sagicor, it is the companies that stay in paradise for 4 seasons, it is the companies that borrow from overseas that will now have to face a higher charge for what they want to borrow, simply because your government has not managed its affairs to stave off the downgrade. Now, I don't know, as I was coming up in the car, I was playing an old calypso. I don't know how many people in this crowd know Lord Melody. He had a calypso called, Glymer, you might remember. Mama, look a boo-boo there, shut your mouth, go away. I wonder why nobody don't love me. Is it because I'm ugly? Now I want to tell Steve Blackett and all the rest of the Dems, that calypso came to my mind tonight, not because anybody is ugly, because I don't believe that ugliness is anything other than like beauty in the eyes of the beholder. And I mean that. But the calypso came to mind because of Mama Loka, Boo Boo there, and one after one after one after one, the Boo Boos all about Barbados, littered and scattered by the Dems. Thompson started on the front foot with the Boo Boos. Cost of living number 2 and what happened to you? You got 3 times 10 increase. Thank God he didn't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you would have had a 50% increase in cost of living. Then they believed that they could tax their way out of recession. Boo-boo number 2. Then they carried the water rates up for everybody by 60%. Anthony Wood showed you that you have to protect the ones at the bottom. When we carried up water rates, the people at the bottom didn't get a lash in the double digits. And the people who could carry the lash took it and moved on. But the people at the bottom who don't have 25 cents and 10 cents and 5 cents to rub together didn't have to pay that 60%. But if the Boo-Boo stopped there, you would have said, well, it was early batsmen at the crease. They're now playing, then give them a chance. It didn't stop there. The Boo-Boos continued. And one after one, we have seen them. And Frondell Stewart, not to be outdone, took control of some of his Boo-Boos. Up to this year, we are debating an employment rights bill in Parliament. And the Minister of Labour has a personal assistant who she fired 2 days before Christmas, refuses to sign the green paper for unemployment benefit, and yet is in Parliament telling employers about how to employ people in good ways. Now if that is not a boo-boo, Mama Looker, can't hear you. And then you turn around and you have a Minister of the Environment who goes and gives away the bulky waste site a month ago. Does he check with government's landlord, the Ministry of Housing? Does he check with the Chief Town Planner? Does he check with the Ministry of Environment? No. Mama Looker. Then you have Chris Sinclair trying to take the NIS money and fund the university, when the NIS money can only be used if it is getting back a return so you can get your pension safely. If I am lending you the money, I must get back something on top of what I lend. I cannot use it to pay school fees for anybody. And when the Labour Party pointed it out, they rushed to correct it and all we could do was shake our heads and say, Mama, look up. And then, if you doubted us, Senator Velma Newton, the Dean of the Law Faculty, comes 3-4 days ago and tells you that for the first time in the history of the University of the West Indies, their accounts stand to be adjusted because of the failure of the government of Barbados to pay the money to the university. But if that was the only boo-boo, you'd be worried again. Hurricane Thomas, 2 years ago, and all about Barbados people, 2 hurricane seasons later, can't get their houses fixed. What is it? Mama Luca. And then my disbelief. The man that calls himself I Am, the great I Am, otherwise known as Little Hitler. The Chinese government sent one of the top men in China. You know China got near 2 billion people? Well, this man will become the 5th most important man in China come September. And he visits Barbados. The ambassador goes to the gymnasium and sees a picture of a Taiwanese man. Now let me explain. China, from the time we have had relations with them in 1976, only talk about one thing, one policy, China. They do not recognize Taiwan. That is like cursing the mother. You understand? And they went to the gymnasium and they told the people there, they told certain ministers, and they all agreed we will take down this picture before the man comes. Do you know that the minister called and said, you cannot take it down, I am the minister. And that is what is happening in Barbados now. People put in position and party before the interests of the country. Well, you know what happened? The Chinese man came, he got out the car, he walked in the gymnasium, he saw the picture and he turned right back around and walked out. Less than 30 seconds. And big China insulted by Barbados because we have a minister who says, I am the minister. And the Prime Minister calls for a report, and 1 month later, nothing is done to correct the good name of Barbados. Mama Luca. I can keep going and going. Let me go to Clico. When I raised the issue of Clico in 2009, brought a no confidence motion. Thompson told you it was sound, well managed, but Frondell Stewart, not to be outdone, said that it was a motion that should be punished with laughter. Well, I can tell you that none of the 40,000 policyholders are laughing 4 years later in Barbados tonight. Not one! But that wasn't enough. When the rest of Barbados saw the Clico report, what did Frondell tell you? It had not reached his desk. So he hadn't read it yet. And what I have to tell you, another boo-boo. You are head of a country. Everybody from the nation back down has it. And you haven't read the report yet. But the biggest boo-boo with Clico was when he stood tall in Parliament and told you Leroy Paris was my pal. Not his friend, his pal. And you know, he told you budget night when he was trying to curse me, he judges his friends by whom he can trust. So it meant that he was telling you that he trusts Leroy Paris. But he is the only body who trusts him. When the other 40,000 people waiting on the money can't get sent one. Now if that is not boo-boo, I don't know what is. But the biggest boo-boo came on the 23rd of October 2010 when the Democratic Labour Party made Frondell Stewart leader of the Dems and Prime Minister of this country. And if you doubt me, the 11 men, they thought it was a boo-boo too. And enough of them thought it was a boo-boo too. So when I say to you, Mama, look up, we know. But that isn't what I'm here tonight to talk alone about. Because you have to understand that with so many boo-boos, and every day counting them up, that we have a duty to move forward. The Prime Minister tells you that this election is about trust, and you can't trust me and you can't trust Owen. It's not about trusting anybody else, he says, him. But let me tell you what you can trust him to do. You can trust him not to deliver. You can trust him not to read a report. You can trust him not to intervene in Alexandria when the report was on the minister's desk for 9 months. You can trust him not to take anything seriously and to treat this country with a level of arrogance and disdain. And I'm saying to you tonight, comrades, we are past that point, because we know now it is not about us. It is not about them. It is about holding the center of Barbados together. And that is why we come to you tonight, not just to talk about the incompetence of the Dems, but to remind you why you can count on us. You can count on the Barbados Labour Party. You have done it before, and you can do it again. And we're not telling you that everything will be rosy from the day after we become government. We're not doing that. We're telling you that this country has a difficult situation to confront, but we believe that we can face it and fix it. And that we have had leaders from Grantley Adams, even Errol Barrow, Tom Adams, Owen Arthur, who have known what it is to face difficult situations, and in facing them, carry the country with you. Explain what are the adjustments that you want people to make, and people will make them, because we all love Barbados. And when we say to you, therefore, that we know that the solution, Chris Frandel, is not taxing people more out into oblivion. It is by putting a little change in people's pockets, so that when the contractor pays the workers, a fella is going to go and give his child mother some money. He's going to spend a little money at the shop. The money is going to also spend at the supermarket, and it's going to start to trickle down. When you start to recognize that 3/4 of this economy comes from local spending, you will understand why we say that there must be more spending in the economy. And that is why in the budget, you would have heard Owen Arthur commit to a middle-class tax cut, to put more money in the hands of people earning $100,000 or less in this country. That is what you can count on the Barbados Labour Party to do. And when we say to you that those of you who now have to look for money for medication or for your insurance premiums for health care, that we are going to put you in a position where you can claim back up to $6,000 a year on your insurance premiums for medical insurance, so that you can help take care of yourself and don't only rely on the government health care. That if you get sick in the middle of the night, you can go to Sandy Crest, you can go to FMH, you can go to whoever, including Dr. Eswick, because he'll be back practicing again, as well as Dr. Saku. And when we tell you that the pensioners, all 1,500 of those pensioners who were getting 2 pensions for the last 5, 10, and 15 years, that you can't come in the middle of the night and take away the pension, like if somebody meet them on Black Rock Main Road and rob them, choke and rob them. The fact that they were getting 2 pensions was not their fault. It was the government that was giving them for the time they left the government service. And it is only right, it is only fair that you give those 1,500 pensioners back the pensions. But you know what is more? Their manifesto promised it. And when we tell you that therefore we're going to give those 1,500 pensioners back the pension, you can count on us to do it. And when we tell all of you that the price of electricity in this country is too high because the government will not behave like if it is the shareholder of the Barbados National Oil Company and reduce the price of fuel oil to light and power. And let me explain to you. We pump oil in Barbados. Any of you go in Christ, St. Philip, Lowlands, you see the little things, hee-haw, hee-haw, hee-haw. Right. When that oil comes out of the ground, it goes to Trinidad to be refined. And instead of us getting back oil for or gas for the car or diesel, we say to the Trinidadians, give us the value of what we sent to you in fuel oil. And we take that fuel oil, which now is about 40% of what the Light and Power uses on a yearly basis, and we give it to the Light and Power. But instead of selling it to the Light and Power at the cost of how much it costs us at BNOC to produce it, we are selling it to the Light and Power at world market prices. Now what is the difference in the price? The cost of production. Even if we give the oil company a $10 US amount on every barrel to reinvest for new wells, the cost is $40. You know what the cost the Light and Power was paying for in June for fuel oil? $112 US, $104 US. Almost $64 more for that 40%. The bit that we get from Suriname, we pay world market for. But if it's 40% of what you are buying, you are producing at a lower cost, and Bajans are suffering, businesses are closing, people can't get their light bill paid. Wouldn't the sensible and compassionate thing to do be to reduce the price of electricity per kilowatt hour? Well, you can count on the Barbados Labour Party to reduce the cost of electricity in this country. And this is not an idle promise like the removal of VAT on electricity in the Democratic Labour Party manifesto. And you can see that Shell station? Every car going in there tonight paying 17 cents more per litre of gas and 17 cents per litre more of diesel to pay back for a debt that the government of Barbados has already ensured that BNOC has been paid back for. They wanted to borrow, and first we heard it was 120 million, then 140, then 160. But we know that since September 2008, they have collected more than $140 million off of the backs of every driver in this country buying gas and diesel. And we say to you that you have more than repaid your debt. You heard Clyde tonight talking about that they will now have had 4 straight years of more than $50 million in profit. And I ask you, who is the shareholder? We behaving like if it was the government of Trinidad. We behaving like if it is the government of America. Would you believe that Frondell Stewart and Chris Sinclair and the Dems are responsible for the instructions to the Barbados National Oil Company? It is like you working with somebody and you helping them to make the sweet bread when the day comes, and they want to sell you the sweet bread at $10 a loaf that they're selling the outsiders, when you helping them grate the coconut, knead the bread, and instead of giving you at the cost of production at $4. That's what it is. So when I say to you that you can count on us to reduce the cost of gas and diesel, not because we have control of the world market prices, but because we have control of the prices from the Barbados National Oil Company. And I haven't started to talk to you about the corruption or the inefficiency up there yet, because the time will come for that too. But you can count on us to do that. And I want to, because the time I've got to get down soon, I want to talk to the people in Ferniehurst and Deacons and Rosemont. Because this government came to you and told you if you had 20 years in the housing unit, you could get it for free. But there were some of you who exercised due care and conscience and started to pay for the units before the government promised you, the Dems promised you that freeness. And do you know tonight that not one of those people in Ferniehurst, not one in Deacons, not one in Rosemont has gotten back cent one if they paid down a deposit on the units that everybody else get for free? That cannot be fair. Well, those people can count on the Barbados Labour Party and Gregory Nichols too to get back the money and to get the unit for the same price that all of their other neighbours got it for, $0. And I want to say to the people in Black Rock, because enough of you work in the tourism industry, enough of you have been laid off or on 2 or 3 day weeks, we understand the pain that you are facing. And we understand that they have brought you to a position where you're on your knees. But you can't get back your work until we fix the tourism industry. And you have a Prime Minister who will meet with Raul Garcia but won't meet with the BHTA. But you suffering because tourism under pressure. And I'm saying to you that when we say to you that we are going to create a fund so that the hotels that hire you can fix themselves up, so that they can bring more people in and that they can get better money for the people that come into the hotels, we're not taking the money out of the taxpayers' pockets and putting 500 million there. We are using government to create the opportunities and to get the money from elsewhere, but make sure that we lend it to the hoteliers at low cost. That is what we are doing. And that will make a difference. Black Rock has as many hotel workers as St. James. Ian Goodinedge can tell you that. Gregory Nichols can tell you that. And who don't work in the hotel, working as taxi drivers, as hair braiders, as cooks, all kinds of things. But all of you are suffering. And not a word from the Dems on Ammon Beach Village. 500 jobs gone. Don't get tired about the news you see about Ammon Beach Club. That's not the village. The village lost 500 people when it closed. And we don't have the airline seats. And we don't have the marketing dollars. All of that is gone. And God help us come this winter season. So when I tell you, comrades, that this election calling is not about Owen Arthur, Frondell Stewart. It is not about me and Mottley or Gregory Nichols. It is about Barbados. Barbados needs an election now. Barbados needs an election for love of country. And whether it is the police who are suffering from the nonsense that's going on in the police force that you will hear more about during the week, or whether it is the nurses or the teachers or the same hotel workers, we all need an election now. Because what has to be done to fix this country is going to require the consent of all Barbadians. And to get the consent, we need to get the elections out of the way and get on with the business of putting Barbados and Barbadians first. Good night and God bless you.